Welcome to All Things Missing and Lost. We are into episode 8, whereby we discover the mystery of the Mary Celeste. In this channel, we explore all things, people, as well as locations that have gone missing, some of them found and some of them never found. A quick reminder to us all to remember to treasure those that we have around us because they may not always be there. Before we go further, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Well, in today's episode, we explore the fateful journey of the famous missing ship Mary Celeste, or rather, I would say the famous missing crew of the Mary Celeste. And this happens in 7th of November 1872, whereby on that fateful day, the Mary Celeste sails from New York Harbor towards Genoa in Italy. While it makes this cross-continent journey, it carries on its vessel the captain Benjamin S. Briggs together with his wife as well as their 2-year-old daughter, together with a crew of 8 and I believe about 1,700 barrels of crude alcohol. As they make this journey, they would never have imagined that they would become one of the most famous missing persons in history. Many days into the journey, on the 5th of December 1872, the Mary Celeste is spotted floating adrift on the ocean by the Dei Gracia crew, led by Captain David Morehouse, and they notice that there seems to be no activity on board and the ship is not being steered and just drifting with the wind. They decide to approach it and go on board, and upon inspection, they discover that there is not a single soul on board. They report that they find that the ship has light damage to its sails, but nevertheless still able to sail if it had a crew. And they discovered that there was water in the hold as well, but not enough to sink the ship. They went around looking for lifeboats and they were missing, as well as the navigational equipment. The sextant was missing as well. The cargo that it held on board, the 1,700 barrels of uh, alcohol, crude alcohol, was still intact. Food and water reserves were still on board. What had happened? Where are the crew? Where is the captain, his wife, and their 2-year-old daughter? Why did they leave the ship? Why did they not take their food and water reserves? Why did they abandon the perfectly good cargo? Something must have frightened them. Something must have caused them to panic. Something must have made them leave suddenly. And if they left, where are they? Are they on an island somewhere? Are they adrift in the ocean? Have they been eaten? What happened? In fact, they discovered the captain's logbook and they discovered that he had been dutifully recording the journey of the Mary Celeste. In fact, his last entry on the 25th of November states that it was 9 days away from where the Dei Gracia found it, and the perceived location plotted on the map was about 500 miles away from where it was eventually found. So the ship had been adrift for quite a long distance and for many days before it was found. What happened to the Mary Celeste? There are a few theories. Theory number one is that the alcohol that it was carrying on board was leaking fumes, and somehow a spark, someone attempting to smoke nearby, uh, ignited these fumes and it caused a minor explosion on board. Enough to cause there to be water being taken into the hold, but not enough to sink the boat, but loud enough to scare the crew and make them abandon ship thinking that it's about to sink. Obviously, they were wrong. The Mary Celeste continued to remain afloat even though it had water in the hold, and it remained afloat until the Dei Gracia crew found it. That is one possibility. The other possibility is that of a mutiny by the crew, whereby they could have rebelled against the captain. They disagreed over something. Maybe they wanted to take some drinks from the alcohol, but they're not allowed to. something happened on board that caused them to maybe kill the captain, maybe take his wife and his child, and then they left. But if so, if they were running from their crimes, why did they leave the food and water stock on board? Shouldn't they have brought those with them? Why did they leave the alcohol barrels on board? Shouldn't they have taken some of them? So this mutiny theory, while exciting it may be, doesn't really hold weight. Something made them leave and leave so fast that they left all the good equipment and cargo that they had on board, taking only the navigational equipment. The third theory is that they met sea monsters like the Kraken that you see on screen, and the crew were eaten. That explains why they have left the cargo on board and the food and water stock was not gone. But if the Kraken had eaten them, why did it take the lifeboat as well? Were they trying to run away from the Kraken in the lifeboat and they got eaten as a result? Do you believe the sea monsters theory? That's theory number 3. Theory number 4 is that of them having met pirates, and then that there is some light damage to the ship due to a fight that occurs, an explosion maybe here and there somewhere that causes the hull to take in some water, and then the crew are all captured along with the captain, his wife, and their daughter, and taken away by the pirates, maybe to be sold as slaves, maybe to be killed, we don't know. But if the pirates had taken the ship, why did they take the lifeboat and leave the cargo and leave the food stock and the water stock on board? Exciting as it may be, this also doesn't really make sense. In fact, none of the theories make complete sense. So what do you think happened to the Mary Celeste? Share in the comments below, and remember to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next week in episode 9.